Good morning. Welcome back to Football Heritage. Today is the May week edition of the Football Heritage. I'll be talking about a few things because we didn't have any games in the world of football, precisely club football. We have some international games, so I don't have much to talk about. First thing I just want to talk about today is how I fell in love with football, how my journey started. And I started watching a beautiful game, live game precisely on television, to be precise, European football was in April 1997 when I first watched my first game was a game in the French League One, Strasbourg against Nantes. And Nantes won that game 1-0. And this is how my journey started. And during those days, if you are from Liberia, precisely the Ghanarsville belt, at that time we had just one video club where they used to show live matches from Europe. And there where I started watching games from. And I was a kid back then, 1997. My lunch for school, I would keep the money my dad would give me for lunch just for the weekend for me to be able to watch the games from the European football, particularly the French league and the Serie A. At that time, back in Liberia, we were not watching the Premier League. We only used to see various league through highlight, like the that video club they used to have a Sunday show where we used to pay money to watch highlight on Sunday on Canal Plus called L'équipe du Dimanche. That was the name of the show. And there where we used to see highlight from the Premier League, from the La Liga. And my favorite player at that time was Roberto Baggio. That's the first player I started to like because the way he used to play that number 10 role with flair. And I fell in love with Roberto Baggio's style of play. And he was my favorite player back then. And it was almost at the end of his career because this guy, Roberto Baggio, he won the Ballon d'Or, he won the FIFA World Best in 1993. And he had a great career. And if you don't know the guy I'm talking about, Roberto Baggio was an Italian international. He used to play for the Italian national team, and he also played for Juventus, AC Milan, Inter Milan, Fiorentina, Udinese, and so on. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, this is the guy. This is the guy I'm talking about. This is Roberto Baggio. He was my favorite players when I first started watching the game. Former world best. This is him. So at that time, I fall in love with Inter Milan as a football club. At that time, before becoming a Manchester United fan, I fell in love with Inter. And when you look at that Inter team, they had one of the best attack. They had one of the best attack in European football. But they couldn't win a major trophy. We are talking about Ronaldo Nazario from Brazil, Ivan Zamorano from Chile, and Roberto Baggio from Italy. That trio was arguably the best trio in European football at that time. But yet, they couldn't compete against Juventus and AC Milan in the Serie A. And you go through the team, you see people like Alvaro Recoba, Ivan Zamorano, Diego Zimoni, Roberto Baggio, Zanetti, Taribo West, Mikel Seves, Bergomi, and so on. But yet that team couldn't win a major title. But during those days, the Serie A was the best league in the whole world, not only Europe. Because they had all the best players. All the best players in world football at that time, they were all in the Serie A. So, in Inter, AC, Juventus, they were in the top 6, the strongest team in world football at that time. Because they were all the best players playing. And if you look at that AC Milan squad at that time, the goalkeeper Christian Abbiati, Captain Paolo Maldini, Alessandro Costacota, and you see people like Francesco Coco, Albertini, Leonardo, Boban, that great midfielder, Ambrosini, Josh Weah, Roberto Donadoni, Oliver Bierhoff, and so on. That was an incredible team. And at that time, games between Juventus and AC, they were so good at that time. It was like what we had a few years ago between Real Madrid and Barcelona. So that was the Clásico before the Clásico. Yeah. And you go to Juventus, their goalkeeper, Peruzzi, that guy was so incredible. The young Thierry Henry, Antonio Conte, Filippo Inzaghi, Alessandro Diapero, Didier Deschamps, Nicola Amoroso, Gianluca Pisotto, Edgar Davids, and so on. The great Zinedine Zidane. There were all the best players were playing. They were all playing in a Serie A. But now, football has evolved. And the La Liga, the Premier League, there where now we have the best players playing. And my first football jersey, my first jersey I ever wore as a football fan was an Inter Milan jersey, Alvaro Recoba, number 20. If anybody remember during those days, that's the normal Recoba used to wear, number 20. And he was a great attacking midfielder. He was one of my favorite players after Roberto Baggio. And you can comment, right? You can tell us your football journey. You can tell us as a kid who was your favorite player. What was your first football jersey? You can just comment below. And now I move on to why is it that we are struggling to see a real number 9 like before. And the game has evolved because during those days, a lot of teams were playing a traditional 4-4-2 system. A traditional 4-4-2 system. And now you barely see any team playing with such system. The central defenders at that time, they had to work for their money because it was 2 central defenders against 2 attackers. But now, every team, most teams play with only one real striker, and a lot of teams don't even have real striker nowadays. Because during those days, the wingers, their job meaning was to only create for the 2 striker, putting in crosses. If a left-footed winger, he's going to play number 11. A right-footed winger used to play 7 during those days. But now things has changed. You have almost everything now. A right-footed winger is playing number 11. The first thing on his mind is to cut in deep and shoot. This is why it is difficult now to get a real number 9 who score a lot of goals. Apart from now, Haaland and the Gyökeres, Robert Lewandowski. Proper number 9. I think for now, those are the 3 proper real number 9 that are scoring a lot of goals. But during those days, almost every team had a proper striker. If you look at the top teams at that time, even the smaller teams in Europe, kind of Manchester United, the team I support, we had Dwight York, Andy Cole, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and Teddy Sheringham, 4 number 9. And if you go to Arsenal, they had Ian Wright, Thierry Henry, Dennis Bergkamp, Davor Suker, proper strikers. Even Real Madrid, they were playing with 2 attackers, Morientes, Raul Gonzalez. You go to Italy, Juventus, they had Alessandro Del Piero, Filippo Inzaghi, David Trezeguet. AC Milan, they had Bierhoff, they had Josh Weah. After that, they had Andrei Shevchenko, Filippo Inzaghi. Every team had proper striker, at least 2 proper number 9. But now, you cannot even find a proper number 9 on most of those teams because the game has changed. The game evolved. And this is why you find the wingers on a lot of teams, they are the higher goal scorer because the only thing on their mind is to cut in and shoot. The wingers, they are not there no more to create for the attackers. And in my opinion, central defender, it is easier for them now like before. Let me just, the Premier League, for example, as a case study, right? Like 10, 15, 20 years ago in the Premier League, every team was playing 4-4-2, playing with two strikers. If you're going against Manchester United, Andy Cole and Dwight York, or Ruud van Nistelrooy and Wayne Rooney after Dwight York and Cole, you're going against Arsenal, you're going against Thierry Henry and Dennis Bergkamp. So the two central defenders, you're not going to have easy game because it's 1v1. One defender, one attacker, one defender, one attacker. Not like today that one of the central defenders just relaxed and the other guy marked the number 9. But during those days, it was 1v1. So it was difficult for central defenders. That is why Van Dijk, he's a good player, don't get me wrong. But this is the reason why I don't put in ahead of Rio Ferdinand, Nemanja Vidic, John Terry. This is the reason I cannot put in ahead of those 3 guys. Because during those days, those guys, they were up against 2 attackers, now 1. Today, Van Dijk as a central defender, he's up against he and his defensive partner. They are up against 1 attacker, unlike before. And now, you don't have good attackers in the Premier League than before. Before, you have Ruud van Nistelrooy, Wayne Rooney, Fernando Torres, Didier Drogba, Thierry Henry, Robin van Persie, Alan Shearer, Ameobi, Jimmy Defoe, Dimitar Berbatov. All the smaller teams, they have good strikers back then. But today, there's a shortage of strikers in the Premier League and in world football. You don't see a lot of good strikers no more. You don't see it no more. You don't see kids aspiring to be a number 9 no more. Everybody want to be that second striker or that creative player. Everyone want to play on the wing. Come in like Messi, Cristiano, and shoot to score. Nobody wants to be a Robert Lewandowski or Haaland. So the next thing I want to look at is Manchester United season so far. What can we do this season? Is it possible for us to win some trophy this season? And I'm going to look at the past manager since Fergie retired, since Fergie retired, we have so many managers. And in my opinion, I'm going to give you the reason why they fail. And what can we expect from Ruben Amorim? After Fergie retired, we had David Moyes. He came in, but the board didn't back him enough in the transfer window. And Moyes, he didn't have that experience. That's another reason. He didn't have that experience how to coach top players. Because I remember he made a remark that Manchester United should be aspiring to be like Manchester City. He took over the Manchester United. We were champions of the Premier League when David Moyes took over. And making such silly remark that we should be aspiring to be like Man City after we lost heavily to City. That was one of the reasons that led to a downfall. He was inexperienced to coach at the highest level, and the ball also contributed to his downfall. In the transfer window of that summer, the ball only signed one player for David Moyes, Marouane Fellaini, and that was not enough, because if you look at the squad at that time, the squad was aging. So we needed some player to refreshing the squad. It was an aging squad. Vidic, Rio, Patrice Evra, Paul Scholes, Robin Van Persie, Michael Carrick, Ryan Giggs. All those guys were aging. They were at the end of their career. So we needed some young, good players to blend with those guys. But the club failed to address that. And we had a terrible season. And at the end of the season, before the season ended, a few games to the end of the season, he got fired. Ryan Giggs took over until the end of the season. Then the summer of 2014, after the World Cup, we brought in Louis van Gaal. And Louis van Gaal, he had experience because he coached Barcelona before the Netherlands team. So he had vast experience. But one of his major problems was when he came to the team, he decided to get rid of all the old players at once. And you can't do that. He decided to build a new team immediately. You cannot do that. He needed some of those old players for 2 or 3 seasons before getting rid of every one of them. But he decided to get rid of Louis Nani, Robin Van Persie, Nemanja Vidic, Rio Ferdinand, Patrice Evra, and so many other players. He got rid of them. And he started to struggle. The fans started to complain that his game, his style of play was boring. And after 2 seasons, when the second season when Manchester United failed to qualify for the Champions League, he got fired. The club was not patient with him. So that was one of the things. The club was not patient with him too. He got fired. And we brought in charismatic manager Jose Mourinho, 2016 summer. Mourinho signed, and the first transfer window brought in Pogba, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. And we started well, but we were not that good in the league. We finished 6th place under Mourinho, but we won the Europa League. So we qualified for the Champions League the following season. The following season, that was Mourinho's best season, the second season in charge. Because we played well, but Manchester City, they were too good. So we finished 2nd place that season. And Mourinho said a few years ago, that season was his greatest achievement ever, finishing 2nd place with that Manchester United squad. Phil Jones, Smalling, so on. Marco Rojo, all those guys. That was his best season ever to finish second to Manchester City. But his third season, he went to the bowl that he wanted all the players he wanted at that time. Most of them were like from 28 to 31. But the guy wanted to win immediately. And he wanted to get rid of Paul Pogba, Anthony Martial, Rashford. He wanted to get rid of those three players. But at that time, most of the fans, we didn't see it coming. We thought Mourinho was crazy that he wanted to get rid of Pogba, Martial, and Rashford. And in the long run, Mourinho was right. He should have gotten rid of those players. The club should have allowed him to get rid of Martial, to get rid of Pogba, to get rid of Marcus Rashford. Because those guys stay at the club for so many seasons and they achieved nothing. They didn't do anything better. And Rashford is still at that football club doing absolutely nothing. And the ball failed to back Mourinho. And Mourinho got fired. Mourinho got fired into his third season. We brought in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. First few games, he won so many games in a row, especially the game in Paris against PSG in the Champions League, coming from 2-0 down because we lost the first leg at Old Trafford 2-0 to win 3-1 in Paris to qualify on away goal. Right after that, they gave him the permanent job. And Solskjaer, he was playing counter-attacking football, especially big games. Manchester United was hard to beat in big games. He won so many games against Pep Guardiola. He's one of those coaches that have beating record over Guardiola, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But his downfall started his last season in charge because he finished. You could see little progression during Solskjaer time. His first full season, Manchester United will finish third place. His second full season will finish second. So you could see the progression. But in my opinion, one of the reasons Solskjaer failed miserably was that final season when the club decided to sign Cristiano Ronaldo. Don't get me wrong, he's a club legend, but that move was a bad move because Solskjaer's style of play was counter-attack, playing on the break. And Cristiano Ronaldo, an aging Cristiano Ronaldo, couldn't run no more to Kobo's system. So he had to change the way of playing to accommodate Cristiano. And that led to his downfall. In the middle of the season, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was fired. Michael Carrick took over for a few games. Then we brought in Ralf Rangnick. And we still had a abysmal season. And Rangnick said that the club needed an open heart surgery, that we needed over 10 first-team players. And he was right. He was 100% right that we needed more first-team players. And Manchester United decided to give the job to Erik ten Hag after that season. Ten Hag took over the team. And especially the thing that made Manchester United fans to be excited, we saw what Ten Hag did at Ajax. That exciting football he played at Ajax. beating the likes of Real Madrid in the Champions League, going to the semi-final of the Champions League. So we all were excited when Ten Hag took over. We were all excited as Manchester United fans. His first season, we finished third place. We saw progression, and we won the Carabao Cup. We were all excited that we see progression. But even though the progression was there, but one of the reasons I said that honor Ten Hag, he honored himself from the get-go. When he decided to change his style of play in the first two games, possession-based football, high press, he decided to change his style of play for it to suit the players. That was his first mistake. He should have maintained his style of play and make some tactical adjustment. Right there, you gave power to the players. He should have maintained his style of play. This is how it got to be done. If you don't do it, you won't play. He should have done that, but he didn't do it. And we won a trophy that season. We finished third. So going into a second season, expectation was high. We expected him to compete for the league. But we started having bad result after another result. After every time we played, the performance was not there. And the results were not coming. The performance level was abysmal. Results were not coming. So the pressure was mounting. And we finished 8th place, if in the Premier League table, with a minus goal difference, negative goal difference. But he won the FA Cup against Manchester City at Wembley. And the new people coming in, Ineos, they decided to give Erik Ten Hag the benefit of the doubt. But in my opinion, that FA Cup win was not enough for him to keep his job. He should have been fired at the end of last season. Because Manchester United, we shouldn't lower our standard. Manchester United is one of the biggest clubs in the world. One of the most supported clubs in world football. The standard should be all the way high, over the roof. We shouldn't lower our standard. And one of the problems was signing his former players. You can sign your former players, but you can't go to your former club and just sign so many players, especially so many players that you have coached. So what you are trying to say, you are not able to identify any other player that suit your system apart from players you have coached. Spending £85 million on Anthony, or guy who worth less than 40 million, spend 85 million on him. And that was one of the worst signings ever in the history of this football club. So this season started. Instead of the guy improving, because last season a bigger excuse was injury. And injuries are part of the game. You have to get prepared for it. This is why you need a squad, not just a starting 11 player. You need a full squad to compete. But they decided to gain the benefit of the doubt. Most of the fans and the board gave him that benefit. And we have a structure now for this season, have a new CEO, everything the entire board, new board. And all the players he wanted, Joshua Zirkzee, Lenny Yoro, Mazraoui, Matthias de Ligt, Manuel Ugarte, we bought all those players for him. And yet, he started the season very bad, terrible, and very stubborn. If you look at Ten Hag's substitutions, his substitutions were awful. This is one of the reasons he was fired. This guy will see players underperforming in a game. He will stay keeping on probably until the 80th minute or the 85th minute before he made a substitution. And after the West End game, the board couldn't take it no more. They decided to let him go. And now we have a new person in charge, Ruben Amorim. And I think this guy will do well. There are a lot of expectation. And I think he's ready for the task because he knows that this is Manchester United, one of the biggest clubs in the world. You have to perform. Football is a result business game. Result business. If you don't get a result, you are out. So, and this is what I like about him. I saw a few clips of his first training session on Monday. And the positioning of the players, he is not deviating from his style of play. 3-4-3. The guy, he's sticking to it. And this is what I like. Stick to your philosophy. Anybody who doesn't fit within your system, get out of the football club. This is Manchester United. This is how it should be. This is how it should be done. If you don't fit in the style of play, you're out. You should be out. You should be out of the football club. And I think the few clips I saw, I think he's ready for business. This guy is ready for business. Excuse me. I think he's ready for business. And you're going to be a success at this football club. Because he's a great tactical coach. And this is why Ten Hag is lacking. Tactically, Ten Hag is awful. And if we look at all the players he signed during his time at Manchester United, just first team, he signed like 15 or more, over 15 first team players at this football club. He spent the most money ever since Fergie retired. He spent the most money as a Manchester United coach. When you look at his first season, when he signed Anthony for like 95 million euro, Casemiro for 70 million euro, Lisandro Martinez for 57 million euro, Christian Eriksen free, Malacia 15 million euro. Do the math. The first transfer window. Do the math. And he got some players on loan. Marcel Sabitzer from in the January transfer window of the first season from Bayern on loan. Vegas from Burnley on loan. Butler, Palace on loan. Martin Dubraska, Newcastle on loan, goalkeeper. In his second season, the transfer window, he signed Mason Mount for 64 million euro. Andre Onana, 50 million euro. Johnny Ivan free. Rasmus from Atalanta for 73 million euro. A player who proved nothing. A player who only had potential. Signing him for 73 million euro. Then he got Amrabat on loan. Paid 9 million euro loan fees. Sergio Reguilon from Tottenham on a short loan. His last season, you got Ugarte for 50 million euro. Matthias De Ligt, 45 million euro. Mazraoui, 15 million euro. Lenny Yoro, 62 million euro. Joshua Zexi, 42 million euro. Do the math. The guy spent the most money, but yet he failed miserably. But I think this new manager, there's still a chance that we can finish in the top four. The reason being, it's very simple. If we can go on a good run, we can finish in the top four, and we can still win FA Cup or the Carabao Cup, and we can also win the Europa League. So there are a lot of trophies to play for. So the season is not done for us. We can still win trophies this season and finish in the top four if we can go on a good run. Because we are 13th place right now in the Premier League table. But we are 4 points behind third place Chelsea. So if we can go on a good run, we can finish in the top four. It's just 4 points separating us at 13th place and Chelsea at third place. So there are a lot of trophies to play for, but we cannot win the Premier League. We can be in the top four race, and I believe we can finish in the top four this season. This is how I believe. This is how much belief I get in this coach, because he's a young, energetic coach, and he will not fail. He will not fail. He's going to succeed at this football club. And I do believe that our season is still possible this season for us to win some trophies. Because if you look at the Premier League right now, the only team that is in form, the only team that is playing well is Liverpool. Every other team, nobody is having a good season. Nobody is playing well. The only team that is playing well is Liverpool. No one is playing well. Arsenal, they are not playing well. They are not scoring goals. They are not. And they are conceding a lot of goals too. They don't even have a proper striker. Manchester City, they only have one goal scorer. Haaland, if he doesn't score, Jeremy Doku, he's not a goal scorer. Sevino, he has 0 goal in the Premier League. He's not a goal scorer. And they don't have Rodri for the rest of the season. So there is a major problem at City. So they are not playing well also. So if we can go on a good run, we can be in the mix for the top four. And I believe we're going to be there. So you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. The link is in the description. You can subscribe to my channel. It's the Football Heritage. The link is there. You can click on the link, subscribe, because we need you to subscribe to help this channel. Thank you very much. Peace. I'm Oloye.